Okay, so on this question, we have a whole bunch of X's and Y's and Z's to powers, and then a power outside. And then they want, in the end, they want the, the final answer for the powers, the exponents of X, Y, and Z. Okay, so what you should do first is first simplify the inside. It's going to be easiest to work on the inside of this problem first. Don't worry about that power yet. Let's just work on the inside. So, okay, so what am I going to do on the inside? Well, you remember the rule, probably. Negative powers are unhappy. They jump to the other side of the fraction. Then they're happy. Then they become positive. Somebody that's unhappy with their job, they jump to the new job, then they're happy, then they're positive. So, okay. So looking in there then, see this X to the minus 3? He's unhappy. So he's going to jump to the bottom. So I'm just going to do that first. Really nothing else yet. Let me just take it slowly. Just that. So, and I'm going to write everything else in there. So I'm going to put X to the third over X. So now I'm going to put that X to the minus 3. I'm going to put it over here next to the X's. Now the Y's are going to stay where they're at. We got Y to the third on the top, Y to the, and then we have another one. So see these two Y to the fourth. I'm just going to kind of gather them together. Just going to keep things organized. And what is it with the Z? We have Z to the fourth on the top, Z to the fifth on the bottom. Like that. And then, of course, the whole thing is to the minus 3. Let's see, did I drop anything? So I just tried to organize everything. Just put all the X's together. Right? Yeah, and I put the 2 Y's together. Right? Or the 3 Y's in the same zone, and then the Z's together. Yeah. So I just to organize things. X's over X's, Y's over Y's, Z's over Z's, keep them all organized. And the negative power X jumped to the bottom, didn't it? And became positive. That's what negative powers do. Now you might be thinking, what about that negative 3 power on the outside? We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get to this guy in a minute. So, all right. So now, what are you going to do? Well, powers that are side by side add. Well, let's do this. Well, there's a couple of things you could do. I'm just going to cancel. The easiest is just cancel those guys. They're just gone, right? You got the same thing top and bottom. Gone, right? They just cancel out. Just boom, boom, gone. Whereas these 2 Y's right here are going to add, aren't they? So what do we have here? So I'm going to end up with X to the fourth on the bottom. The other X is canceled out. With the Y's, I've got Y to the 8th on the bottom, Y to the 3rd on the top. And I'll just keep the Z's as they are for now. Z to the 4 over Z to the 5. Keep it all to the minus 3 power. Like that. Okay. So now, what are we going to do with, bring it over here, with the ones that are vertical? So ones that are vertical like these guys, these powers are going to subtract. And these ones also. Right? So when you have powers that are side by side, like we just did right here, these guys add when they're side by side, but when you have powers for the same letter that are vertical, they subtract, don't they? And now why? I want to make sure that I think it's best if you just think, well, what does Y to the 8th mean? It means 4, 5, 6, 7. It means 8 Y's. And what does Y to the 3rd mean? 3 Y's. So what happened? 3 of these cancels 3 of these, and you're left with Y to the 5th on the bottom. Makes sense? It's just natural, isn't it? That's why they're subtracting. They're just canceling. So 8 on the bottom, 3 on the top. Of course, they're going to cancel. 3 on the top will cancel 3 on the bottom. We're left with 5 left over, Y's on the bottom. What's going to happen with the Z's? You know, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Z's, and on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 Z's. 4 of these will cancel 4 of these. We're left with a single Z on the bottom, aren't we? Like that. And x to the fourth on the bottom, which has just been sitting there all along, just kind of waiting. Okay, so now there's nothing left on the top. Notice nothing left on the top. What do we always do when there's nothing left on the top? We put a 1. Okay, and then parenthesis, -3 power. So we still have that -3 power on the outside. All right, so now we finally, that was all step 1, really, big long step 1. Simplify the inside. So I cleaned up the inside, made it nice. So now, what do we do with that -3 power on the outside? Well, you know, powers outside parentheses multiply powers inside parentheses, right? So that power right here is going to go boom, boom, boom. This little 1 has a 1 power also, by the way. You can do that. It's really not going to do anything because it's just a 1, right? If you want to write 1 to the -3, I mean, that's technically true. Every number, every letter has if it doesn't show another power, it has an invisible 1 power. So powers outside parentheses multiply powers inside. And so then this will become x to the what? -12. Y to the -15. Z to the -3. So that power outside parentheses is multiplying all the powers inside. And that Z had an invisible 1 power, didn't it? So again, whenever, just like the 1 on the top had an invisible 1 power, whenever a number or letter is not showing its power, it really has an invisible 1 power. Okay, so and the parentheses are gone now, right? Whenever something from the outside of parentheses goes in, we drop them, like water outside of a floodgate. When we drop the gate, the water goes in, no more parentheses, the power went in. Okay, and now what have we learned? Negative powers are going to jump. Negative powers are jumping, so this guy's going up. This guy's going up, this guy's going up, and this guy's going down, right? Negative powers are negative. They're unhappy where they're at. They want to jump to the other side. It's a long problem. We're almost there. Okay, so what do we end up with? We end up with x to the +12 on the top, y to the +15 on the top, z to the +3 on the bottom, and then 1 to the +3. So all the negative powers were negative. They were unhappy where they're at. They jumped to the other side. Now they're positive. Now they're happy. All right. Now, what is 1 to the 3rd power on the bottom? That's just 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 1, isn't it? There's not really anything going on there. And 1s on the bottom, we just skip them, don't we? We never worry about 1s on the bottom. I hope that's not just some rule I'm saying, but makes sense to you. Why? Because 7, for example, 7 divided by 1 is just 7, isn't it? Why? Because a fraction means divide, doesn't it? Like 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Likewise, 1 goes into 7 7 times. That's why we never keep 1s on the bottom. They don't change anything, do they? 1s on the top, we would keep, but 1s on the bottom, we don't. So long story short, this is x to the 12, y to the 15, z to the 3rd. No need to keep the fraction anymore. We don't need the 1 on the bottom. Ignore it. There we go. We answered it. Now, what does that mean about what they want me to type in here? Well, if you go back to the original question, they're saying, give me the exponent, the power for x, the exponent for y, the power for z. They want the exponent for x, y, and z. So all they want is the number. So what are they? It's 12, 15, and 3 for me, for mine. 12, 15, and 3. So I'm just going to literally type in 12, 15, and 3, because all they want is the powers for x, y, and z, the numbers, the 12, the 15, and the 3. They don't want you to actually type in the x, y, or z on this one. They just want the powers on x, y, and z. So recapping, what did we do? That was a long one. So what we did was first off, I kind of just, I started on the inside, and I just kind of organized everything, and I let the negative, the only item that had a negative power inside, the x, he jumped to the bottom. Down here, he came right over here. This is where he showed up. Right there. And then I just organized all the x's together, the y's together, and the z's together. And then I canceled these guys, and that left x to the 4th on the bottom. And then I added the ones that are side by side, right? Letters side by side, powers add. And then the ones that are vertical, they subtracted. Wherever the bigger power is, which was on the bottom. That's where the leftovers ended up because they really cancel. And then powers outside parentheses multiplied all the powers inside parentheses. And then the negative powers jump. And there we go. That's a hard one.